Welcome back to Luminous Star Fables. Tonight we step into a world where fashion becomes myth, where color becomes language, and where a young creator reshapes a legacy house through the pressure of his own becoming. Jaden Smith's debut as Christian Louboutin's first men's creative director unfolds not as a runway, but as a pilgrimage, an odyssey through cosmic origins, industrial labor, fractured identity, and the molten psychology of the color red. His fall/winter 2026 collection does not simply present shoes. It reveals a philosophy, a surrealist vision forged under the same invisible forces that shape stars. The journey begins with the working man, an archetype Jaden elevates from ordinary laborer to mythic builder of worlds. In his hands, the mason, the scribe, and the doctor become symbols of human contribution, figures who carve, heal, write, and construct the very foundations of civilization. Their tools echo through the collection: the weight of leather, the precision of stitching, the repetition of craft, red threads through it all, not as decoration but as pulse, blood, heat, urgency, intention. In color psychology, red is the first hue the human eye learns to recognize, the color that signals survival, passion, danger, and desire. Jaden uses it as the heartbeat of his universe, a reminder that creation is always born from pressure. As the exhibition unfolds, time begins to collapse. Early photographic techniques, silver baths, chemical solutions, hand-developed images sit beside vintage television screens looping fragments of memory. These relics of the past are juxtaposed with cosmic metaphors, suggesting that identity is not linear but layered, like sediment pressed into stone. Jaden's surrealism emerges here, a belief that the self is a collage of eras, influences, and emotional imprints. The shoes become artifacts of this temporal blending. Melted silhouettes, long-haired red boots, silver-capped cowboy forms, and oversized patent pumps that feel both ancient and futuristic. Louboutin's traditional menswear, once defined by Parisian polish and gentlemanly restraint, is reimagined as a living mythology. The final chamber reveals the most striking symbol, a massive exploded red head suspended in pieces, illuminated from within. It is a portrait of identity under pressure, a visual metaphor for breaking oneself open to understand what lies beneath. Red, in its psychological power, becomes the color of self-excavation, of confronting the fragments, rearranging them, and emerging transformed. This is where Jaden's vision becomes deeply emotional. He invites the viewer to witness the vulnerability behind creation, the internal rupture required to build something new. In this moment, Louboutin's menswear shifts from luxury to introspection, from product to philosophy. Throughout the collection, Jaden's surrealist lens reframes masculinity itself. No longer stoic or polished, it becomes cosmic, fluid, introspective, and spiritually charged. He replaces the traditional gentleman with a mythic figure, one who labors, dreams, breaks, rebuilds, and glows under the heat of his own evolution. Red becomes the connective tissue of this transformation, the color of memory, the color of pressure, the color of becoming. And in doing so, Jaden redefines what Louboutin men's can be. Not just fashion, but a conversation about identity, creation, and the stories we carry in our blood. In the end, his debut is not merely a collection, it is a fable, a surrealist tale told through leather, light, and the psychology of color. A reminder that every creator is a star forged under immense pressure, and every act of making is an act of becoming.
Okay, so today we're diving into a fashion debut that basically split the entire world in two. And it wasn't really about the clothes. It was about one single, super provocative color that just took over everything. Let's get into it. So picture this. It's Paris Fashion Week. The brand is Christian Louboutin, you know, a total giant in the industry. And for the very first time, they've handed over the keys to their men's collection to a brand new creative director. I mean, the pressure was just immense. And what he ended up delivering, well, it sparked an immediate firestorm. And yeah, that new creative director, Jaden Smith. His description of his own collection was, and I quote, "made by hands born from stars." I mean, right away, you just know this is not going to be your average everyday fashion show, right? We're talking cosmic stuff, ancient history, a vision that is way, way bigger than just a few new jackets and shoes. And the reaction, oh, it was instant and it was brutal. The fashion world basically drew a line right down the middle. You had one side calling it a work of absolute genius, praising the bold vision, the artistry, and then on the other side, the knives came out. Social media was just flooded with cries of Nepo baby, with tons of people dismissing the whole thing as just unwearable, pretentious art. But here's the thing, whether you loved it or you hated it, one thing was totally undeniable: the color. I mean, everything was just drenched in this deep theatrical red. So what was Jaden Smith trying to say with that choice? And to figure that out, we've got to ask an even bigger question. Why is the color red just so incredibly powerful? Okay, so let's get into the psychology of it all. We really need to understand how the color red is like baked into our DNA. We're talking long before it ever became some kind of fashion statement.
You see, red isn't just a color we see with our eyes, it's a color we actually feel. It's literally the color of our own bodies. I mean, just think about it for a second. Blood, our hearts, our lips, it stands for life and death, for food and desire, for pure rage and deep passion. It's about as primal as it gets. And this is where it gets really fascinating. Red is a color of total contradiction. On one hand, it pulls us in, right? It signals love, passion, desire. But at the exact same time, it pushes us away. It warns us of danger, anger, violence. It's kind of like a rose and a stop sign, all rolled into one. And believe it or not, this isn't just some random observation. There's actually a scientific name for it: the color in context theory. The whole idea is pretty simple, really. A color's meaning completely changes depending on the situation it's in. So the exact same shade of red can feel super inviting in one context and then really threatening in another.
Okay, so that's the theory, but does it actually hold up when scientists, put it under the microscope?
Well, in 2015, some scientists decided to put this to the test. And what they found was pretty fascinating. Yes, red does grab our attention, but, and this is a huge but, it only works in an emotional context. So if you show someone a picture of a heart or a fire, that red really pops. But if you just show them a plain red squitter, nothing. It's the emotion that's the key, the thing that unlocks red's power. So this psychological power, it's not just some abstract theory. No way. It's a tool that brands use every single day to influence how we think and, more importantly, what we buy. I mean, just think about where you see red all the time. In food and drinks, it's supposed to make you hungry. In healthcare, it's all about signaling urgency. And in entertainment and tech, it's designed to grab your attention before you scroll away. We're talking about huge, high-stakes industries, and guess what? They all rely on red. So the main takeaway here is that brands use red with surgical precision. They use it to instantly grab your attention. They use it to get your appetite going. They use it to create a sense of urgency, like all those sales signs. And they even use different shades to make you feel different things. A bright red for energy, a deep red for a feeling of luxury. Okay, so now that we've got all this background on red's primal power and how it's used strategically, let's circle back to Jaden Smith's super controversial collection for Christian Louboutin. And look, Smith didn't just sprinkle in a little red here and there. No, he literally drowned the entire experience in it. The whole room was just bathed in this intense red light. There were shoes that looked like they were melting, a boot that was completely covered in long, wiry red hair, and right at the center of it all, this massive sculpture of an exploding red head.
Okay, so now let's apply everything we've learned. All of a sudden, these don't seem like just weird, random artistic choices, do they? That all red room, that's all about creating energy and urgency. The hairy boot, that's tapping straight into our primal instincts. And the exploding head, that is pure, raw, high-stakes motion. What Smith is doing here is using red to completely bypass our logical brains and hit us right in the gut. Which, of course, brings us right back to that central question. Was this a work of genius that was cleverly using color psychology? Or was it all just a big gimmick designed to get a reaction? Well, to answer that, we need one last piece of the puzzle, the brand's own history. So, according to Smith himself, the inspiration for all this was the working man. Everyone from ancient stonemasons to modern doctors. So how in the world does an exploding redhead and a hairy boot connect to the idea of work and craftsmanship? To get that, we have to look at the brand itself. I mean, you can't even say the word Louboutin without thinking of one specific thing, that red soul. And the origin story is just legendary. Back in 1993, Christian Louboutin saw his assistant painting her nails red. He grabbed the bottle and just painted the sole of a shoe with it. It was this totally spontaneous act of rebellion that somehow became a global status symbol.
And this right here is the key to the entire thing. The original red sole was a secret, right? It was this hidden flash of luxury and rebellion. What Jaden Smith did was he took that secret and he detonated it. He transformed a subtle little signature into this overwhelming, all-consuming experience. The red isn't just on the shoe anymore. It is the shoe. It is the room. It's everything. So that leaves us with this one huge question. Is what Jaden Smith did a brilliant evolution of a brand's DNA, a total masterclass in using color to create emotion? Or is it just a sign of where culture is heading? You know, into a world that's so noisy, the only way to get noticed is to scream in the loudest possible color you can find.